Well, here we are again. Today is the first day after I did my original intros, and I haven't watched those, but I noticed that the second one was huge. I did not realize that I was rambling on so much. I think it's kind of a symptom of my condition, where uh, it makes you kind of uh, almost a little bit high, I guess would be the way to put it. It mentioned in the original article how they were surprised at how these people that were dying and that were so close to dying were actually in such good spirits. And uh, when I'm not actively hurting a whole lot, uh, I'm in good spirits. And I it is almost like you're high because your brain kind of doesn't work right. I mean, you could probably tell if you watch that second video that I'm a little bit weird. So be it. It's not that I can control such things. So, when all your hormones are being manipulated in ways that are, very unconventional, I think that you can expect such things. So, uh, you know, so be it. Anyway, I think from here on out, unless, when I have some epiphanies, I'll share those. Uh, I, I've had various epiphanies about this thing, and I've tried to get most of my thoughts down either on my really long-winded version or in the condensed version or even in those intros. Uh, uh, it's just, in summary, I would say it's kind of mind-blowing, the sheer amount of science involved in this condition, in basic, biochemistry and uh, uh, biology that behaves in ways that is novel, I guess would be the way to put it. Uh, and and it's just kind of crazy. And I don't claim to have all the science right. I know I don't have it all right. I was, last night I was looking up. So I know that ATP is generated through alternate means during this, and and I know that ketosis is a large part of it, and I also know that there's uh, the macrophages. I'm pretty sure that they consume uh, uh, the red blood cells that have attached themselves to glucose. So that's a glycosylated red blood cells, and that's actually normal behavior where macrophages they see that as an abnormal thing and they'll attack it. But I think in this case, it ramps up and you get more of that going on. Uh, and I think that lends itself to, one of the things that I mentioned in the article is that the person actually has diabetes, but they don't have high blood sugar. And in this case, I think it's because there's this overproduction of macrophages or something, and they consume the glycosylated red blood cells. So I could be completely wrong about that, but I know for sure it said that they basically have diabetes, and they don't have high blood sugar. And so, figure out a way to make that happen. I guess it would be the next thing. So how can someone have diabetes, which isn't necessarily high blood sugar? What it is that your body is not using insulin uh, to cause your body to absorb the glucose that's in it. So insulin's not working. So you got insulin resistance, but your blood sugar's not going up. Okay, figure out a way. Well, you got ketosis. Somehow you're turning the sugars to ketones, and you've got glycosylated red blood cells being consumed. That's basically the only way that I can figure it out. And I know there's a whole lot that I haven't put in there. I mean, some of the really bizarre things that I haven't even bothered to write down that I guess I'll just throw in here orally because when you write it down, it kind of commits yourself to this thing that just sounds so absolutely bizarre that no one is ever going to accept it. So things like so it basically destroys your immune system, and it basically destroys all the ways that your organs normally function. And it talks about how the article talks about how it eliminated absorption within your intestines, that you didn't absorb things, and then that means that you don't have to clean out as much stuff because you're not absorbing the stuff. Things like when your cells are when they become apoptotic, they're no longer producing their waste products, so those don't have to be cleaned out. Literally the kidneys, at some point the tubules that go from there to your bladder actually get eaten through, and so now you're just kind of putting into your waste products are going literally into your body, but those don't show up on uric acid tests, and I don't know why. But anyway, and so your bladder fills by some abnormal mechanism, and it talked about how the people, and this is true, they could think about needing to go, and somehow their body would trigger the need to go. So all those types of things is just bizarre. How basically the liver. I remember this sentence, and I've never written this down because it just sounds totally weird. But so you're not processing foods. Literally, your liver. It said if they do a liver biopsy, they'll find out that the liver is just a bag of blood. But that in itself will cause problems because when they pierce it for the biopsy, then they'll have this leaking blood from the liver, and to think about all those bizarre things and to say, well, you need a liver, and then when you kind of go researching what you need a liver for, you kind of go, well, if all these other things aren't going on, maybe you need less of a liver. Let's just put it that way. And it talked about how near the end your liver is, so some small portion of your liver is left, and it literally implied basically a small portion, and it said that part is producing ketones for you, and it talked about how like drinking alcohol could be enough to push you over the edge, ruin that rest of your liver just like by having a couple of drinks. And so, for my whole life, I've tried to basically avoid alcohol. I would buy beers in my late 20s and have like one every once in a while. Never would have two beers. And then, in my early 50s, I started liking bourbon. And I'd have like one bourbon in a night or something like that, or maybe a double, but not every day of the week or anything. And I've just always been cautious because of the stuff that I read. Anyway, so there's a lot that I haven't said, and I wish the documentation for this was out there. I wish there was something that I could point to, and it would sound so much less ridiculous. But hey, it is what it is. I can't unredact whatever the WHO or whatever science has decided that ethically they need to shelter the rest of the world from. Obviously there's really bad consequences to this, but there's also all these things that are kind of incredible science. I mean, so you're generating ATP by alternate means, and it talked about that super soldier program and how that, and the fact that it increased not only oxygenation but energy supply to your brain. But then there were a lot of trade-offs, like any severe wound would most likely kill you because the heart is doing this suction thing, and you don't have a lot of blood volume for a lot of this. and there's a lot of trade-offs as far as, hey, what are these phases and how do we avoid these phases? So but at the same time, the part that gets me, I guess, the most about the article is that, so I read this in '95. It's in a thick book. The book was written sometime recently, let's say within the last 15 years of when I read it, so post 1980, because it talked about calcium channel blockers as a possibility, and it talked about intra-abdominal dialysis and all these different things, organ transplantation, and it kind of walked through all the possible things that might or might not assist things, and so what that tells me is that somebody in relatively modern times studied all that. And the fact that they were so clear with how it was so unlikely to be diagnosed by modern medicine, and they went through how modern tests would miss things that these old tests that they did would find. That makes me think that, so I think somebody did experiment with this at some point, and this person sounded like they either had firsthand access to the notes from such things, or they were involved. And then the fact that they mentioned it was being reclassified as autoimmune polyendocrine or something like that, to me that was out of consternation, because the pathology is obviously different, and it just shoves it under the rug and makes it so, okay, yeah, we don't have to talk about this specific diagnosis anymore and all these things that go with it, because now we can quantify it, or call it something else, and then people just learn about that condition. They don't learn about the pathology of this other iatrogenic condition. So I don't know. It is what it is. So what I'm going to use these, recordings from here on for, so I'm just going to give kind of updates on where I'm at and how things are going. I had a really bad day yesterday, and what was yesterday? Was yesterday the day? No, it was Tuesday. I had a really bad day, and yesterday was better. I had my MRI. I won't get those results for quite some time, and they just did my shoulder, which really doesn't it really doesn't examine everything that's going on here. So the problems I've been having are with my muscles, and I can feel my muscles tear, and then after they tear, it doesn't hurt as much. But when it gets stiff and they tear, it hurts a lot, and then it'll get really sensitive, to the touch. My whole arm in and of itself, here, when I stick my arm out like this, I can feel my tricep back here get really tight, and hurt. But the other thing is okay, the sensitivity of my flesh. So I'm definitely, I think, have some degree of sepsis with the candidiasis, but like I said, it destroys your immune system and it destroys your liver, so you don't have the inflammatory markers, you don't have the white blood cells, part of it gets turned off at the very beginning, and the rest of it basically gets destroyed over the decades by the progression of candidiasis through your system. So I mean, just this, it feels bruised is the best way I could say it. And here's the thing, is that this is the arm with the muscle issues, but this other arm has those same feelings of being bruised. And so another thing I've got going on is my arms especially, but it has gotten somewhat up into my neck, but they burn, and it's mostly just this right arm. I mean, this one, it'll burn just a little bit, but this right arm is that the first week of July, when I started getting the shoulder issues, the next thing that happened is my whole arm felt like it was on fire. It was just burning. And to me, that is the sepsis. you know, and I think it's that basically, the candidiasis, attacking things. And I don't know if this is it getting to cells it hasn't got to before and running the ATP pump in reverse, the sodium potassium pump in reverse, or if it is actually, like, destroying cells. I don't know which one of those it is. What I can tell you is that it burns a lot. And I've tried a couple different things. One is that I use two different what do you call them, antifungals, miconazole and clotrimazole, and I rub those all over my arm. And honestly, it seems to help some. Anecdotal, I don't know. It definitely helps more than an Advil does. So I've tried that. But the other thing that I have tried 3 times now is a Epsom salt bath. And here's my theory on the Epsom salt bath is that, so 2 things. One is I'm pretty sure I have an acidic system. So the one thing about this disease is you kind of go through higher pH phases, and then you go through lower pH phases during all this. And in fact, in going back through my test results on my chart, I found one time when they took my blood gas, okay, just one time, and it was not normal, it was high, which means it was basic. And it's pretty, I mean, you can induce high pH by like hyperventilating or something like that. But if I am just there, complaining about pain or whatever, and not hyperventilating, I'm just, why is my system, have a high pH? Anyway, so in that case, I mean, at least the way the article presented is your body creates a high pH, and that causes the candidiasis not to have a good environment to work within. But eventually it can't do that, and so other things happen. But now, we've got to the point where I think I have an acidic pH going on. I think, even as far as it talked in the article about you have these ketoacidotic episodes, and near the end, the blood sugar level required gets lower and lower for you to get into these ketoacidosis. And that's called euglycemic ketoacidosis, where your blood sugar is normal, but you're having ketoacidosis, and so I think that I got that going on, or something like that. And it also talked about how, and I don't remember the exact details of this, but it talked about how basically you produce a strong acid, and I don't remember which organic reaction this is. I mean, it literally talked about the organic reaction and stuff like that. And it was like, even if you were to throw in things that you would think would make your system more basic, those actually just make the acid stronger. And I don't remember the specifics of that, which type of organic reaction that was. But so you have an acidic environment, and so when you get into a Epsom salt bath, that's where I was trying to get to. So Epsom salts has a pH of I don't know, around 8, somewhere like that. 8, 7.5 to 8.5, somewhere like that. So on the basic end of things, not very basic, but more basic than neutral. And I think that helps neutralize some of this. And I think that's, oh my gosh, this is going really way out there. So I talked, I've at least mentioned that there's several different paths that people would take when they had this disease. And one of the paths was they would, so once their stomach stopped working, you could still get calories into their system by drinking alcohol. Okay, but their system got more and more and more acidic as they did this. And so for them to support the to keep their, I don't know, their system working, they put themselves in, it called it a brine solution, but I'm guessing it was more like Epsom salt or something like that. So some type of of a, positive pH. And so these people were permanently immersed. They were called toads in this brine solution. And it talked about how, they wouldn't move. They'd just, basically be immobile in there. And that their flesh was so tender that you could push your hand through their rib cage from this, I guess from the acidic combined with the basic, and just, basically kind of, I don't know, almost emulsifying them. I don't know. Anyway, so I took last night my arms were burning bad. It started hurting in my back, the burning, and I did a Epsom salt bath, and that helped. It definitely helped. And today I'm not burning nearly as bad as I did the last couple of days. And so, I'm probably going to start having more Epsom salt baths. That's all I can say. And we'll go from there. I don't, it's obviously not some type of a life-saving technique, but anything to reduce the pain is huge. So, that's where I'm at. I've got some follow-up appointments in a few weeks. I have a follow-up with my osteo or orthopedic doctor, I should say. I also have my bone density scan, just happens to be scheduled from annual from last year. So follow up. Last year they determined that I have osteopenia, which, considering that I've always been a weightlifter in my adult life and eat well and everything, resistance training, it shouldn't have that, but I do. In fact, they said, it was pretty severe. So we'll see, how those things are. I don't know. It's a good ways away, 3 weeks, so that's a long time. Anyway, and that's about when my other follow-up is with my orthopede. I also have a follow-up with my neurologist somewhere around that time. I don't really focus on things that are that far away. It's literally, for me, it's a battle every day to just focus and to not freak out and to try to get work done and try to have a normal family life and keep things normal for everybody else. I mean, it's unfair. That's the problem. It's unfair to me that science has redacted this knowledge, because it leaves me hanging out to dry with, even though I absolutely know what I have. That's the really bad part about it, is I absolutely know what I have, and I can't point to anything to say this is what I have, because science has chosen to redact it. Now, granted, 99.99% of people, that if they ever did get into my condition, they would never know what they have, which is even worse. I mean, that poor fool is just going to go through life thinking he's crazy, that why is his body doing all these things, and he keeps going to the doctor and the doctor doesn't find anything, and it keeps getting worse, and he's just running up medical bills and making doctors think he's some type of a hypochondriac. I feel for that guy. But for me, knowing exactly what I have, the only thing that does is it gives me the peace of mind of knowing that it is something significant, that it's not in my head, that, doctors are unlikely to find it, and to just try to do the best I can. And that's what I do. I'm just trying to do the best I can. I had what I call old man band this week. Got to go sing with my friends, and I enjoy singing. I've got some YouTube videos out there of me singing, and hey, I'm not American Idol quality, but for a 54-year-old dude, I think I got some pipes, and I enjoy it, and it takes my mind off of things for a couple hours a week. So anyway, I don't think I have anything, else exciting to say today. I'm gonna wrap it up. That was probably like a half hour, and I'll pop this one out there for 2024, and we'll go from there. Hey, I'm doing it. I'm okay.